Start with a dream and share it with some friends. The idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance. A community soon arose. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. The walls are thin, sirens blare, the tables sit near folding chairs, the stage is set with paint and glue, and love went into every screw. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. The listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. Hearing room, a listening room, you're welcome here, so have no fear. The hearing room, come in, my friend, where art can bloom. And welcome to the Woodshed Podcast. I'm Aaron Tornberg, and this is the Woodshed Podcast with Lori Fassman today. Lori is someone who has been involved with music for a long time, including a group in Boston called the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston. Lori, how are you doing today?
I'm just fine in spite of a pandemic and the fact that it's snowing in May. Otherwise, terrific.
Right. I'm good, and the same. The pandemic is one thing, but yeah, snowing in May. I think Beth DeSombre posted on Facebook that this is just like the sign of the apocalypse, because there's a pandemic, there's a plague, right? And there is a snowstorm as well. So that's another plague, right?
Exactly. Well, it was really nice knowing you all.
Yeah, it was. But we're going to keep plugging along and playing music and doing the good things we do, right? So nothing else we can do. So, speaking of the good things we do, there's lots of cool stuff going on at the Hearing Room, even during the pandemic. So we are shut down, but we are on Zoom. So if you want to go to open mics on Zoom, and jams and other things, we have shows that are showing. In fact, we had Dawn White, who did a show with the Hearing Room recently, and basically what we do is we put up the numbers for the meetings that we have on the Zoom software, and you can come and participate in an open mic, and you can talk with the people who go to the Hearing Room normally, or, you might be somebody from out of town and you still want to participate in the Hearing Room's open mic, and that's cool too. We are a nonprofit organization. We are an arts organization, and we do lots of music and spoken word and other events related to the arts. And we do have a membership that we look for people to join, because the membership keeps us going. It keeps our rent paid. Even though we're not able to go, we still have to pay the rent. We still have a facility that we don't have to do as much to right now, but we do have to pay the rent, and we do have to keep the utilities on. So if you could help out, go to the website. That's hearingroom.net. And we also want to thank the Greenville Junction Shop. That's Greenville Junction, Junktionshop. The Greenville Junction Shop is an upcycling shop in Greenville, New Hampshire, and it is a really cool place. You can go on Facebook and find them. And on Facebook, you can actually purchase the items. Mark Abear will check out your message and get back to you on what he can do for you. And there's all kinds of things like furniture and household appliances and electronics and other things that are gently used and refurbished so that you can make good use of them. So check that out at Greenville, Junktionshop. And they also do estate and garage cleanout, so if you need help getting rid of stuff, they can help with that as well. So that's what I got for the Greenville Junction Shop, and now I want to talk to Lori. So, Lori, where are you from?
I am from Connecticut, actually. I was born in Stamford, and then when I was 2, my parents moved to Westport, Connecticut, and that's where I grew up. Although some would probably argue I haven't grown up, but that's where I'm from. I think it's the only state without an accent.
Yeah, it might be. You never know. It's actually, I think that their accent is subtle, sort of like I'm from the Midwest, and we didn't have much of an accent either. But there is something I think British people use the Connecticut accent when they're trying to imitate the American accent. That's kind of either that or they do a drawl that's really pronounced.
Right.
One of the two. But so what was it like growing up in Connecticut?
I grew up in a rather privileged community, so I kind of grew up feeling like I don't have to follow the rules. I just make my own rules, which has gotten me in trouble and also served me well in some settings.
And you were really close to the city because Stamford is like right next to it, isn't it?
Yeah, Stamford and Westport are both on the commuter rail line. From Westport, it's a 1-hour train ride into the city. And it's right on the beach, right on the Long Island Sound. So it's really neat growing up in a beach community.
Oh, that's cool. And you did, you played music there?
I didn't. I really didn't. Well, I did a lot of singing as a child, not in a structured way. I just would sing, burst into song in any setting, like in art class. But when I was 9 years old, 4th grade, that's when things sort of started exploding for me musically. For instance, I would go home every day after school in 4th grade and put my Carpenter's albums on the stereo and sing along for hours on end. I always think of Karen Carpenter as my voice teacher. And that's the year I started playing piano, taking piano lessons and playing the clarinet in the school band. And things just took off from there. I became really obsessed with music. That is also the year I became obsessed with Elton John, and Elton's been a lifelong passion of mine.
Right. So I like him as well. So you sing any of his stuff?
Oddly, I don't. I've never thought about putting some of his stuff in my repertoire, but actually, I have a funny little story, if I may, from age 9, in fact. When my siblings and I were young, every time we came home with a good report card, my parents would buy us a little treat, a reward for getting a good report card. So when I was 9, of course, I came home with a good report card. My mother asked me what I wanted, and I said I wanted Elton John's Caribou album because my friend Martha had it, and I loved it. It's an amazing album. And my mother said, no. And it was the first time she'd ever said no to one of my, specific reward requests. She said, he's a flash in the pan. You'll never listen to it again. I don't want to spend money on something you're not going to use. So here we are, 45 years later. I have 20 Elton John albums and have followed him so closely. And now, ironically, she likes him too. So I get to say, told you so, Mom.
Well, what did you think of the movie, the Rocket Man movie? Did you see that?
I'm the only person apparently who didn't like it. I was really disappointed. And granted, I went in with a bad attitude, probably. I expected to be disappointed, but I just didn't love it. There was something about it that didn't strike me. Did you like it?
I thought it was really weird.
Yes.
Because I expected, as you probably did, a pretty straightforward biopic. And that is not what that was.
Right.
It was interesting, and I think that the acting and the performances were really good. But I don't think it made sense. And it was fun. I could say that.
Yes, it absolutely was.
It was fun. If you forget about the fact it's supposed to be about Elton John, it's fun.
That's right. Take it for what it is.
But I enjoyed it. I mean, I tend to enjoy movies even when I don't love them, because there's usually something you can find in them that's really worthy. And I think that was certainly not a bad movie. But yes, I can see your point. Do you? How many times have you seen Elton John? Have you been a lot of times to a concert?
I've actually only seen him twice live. Most recently, I took my husband and son to see him in his 3-year-long goodbye tour, and he was just wonderful. We drove all the way to Brooklyn, New York to see him.
Must be nice to have a retirement tour that's longer than most people's careers.
Yes, it must be. That's a testament to how big he is.
Yeah, and Billy Joel, same thing. Billy Joel's like, I feel like playing Madison Square Garden today. I think I'll just go do that. I'll fly in on my helicopter, play, and go home.
Why not?
So that's nice. But so you liked Elton John growing up, and was that typical of people in your area, of your friends at school and stuff?
Yes, and my son is picking up on just how much amazing music there was back in the 70s. I'm one of these old codgers who feels like the music of today just isn't what it was in the 70s, and so we listen to just an awful lot of the stuff that was big back then. Kansas and the Rolling Stones and Elton and all the wonderful singer-songwriters like James Taylor, Carly Simon, Carole King, and so forth.
Yeah, it's interesting because the boomer generation, a lot of them are still playing. If they're still alive, they're all still playing. And,
it's amazing.
It's kind of funny when you think of The Who talking about my generation and how hope I die before I get old was the line in the song,
Right.
That didn't happen.
Nope.
Because all those rock stars, I mean, Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones are still playing. And they're in their late 70s, I think, or 80s.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be doing that in my 80s. I can tell you that. But hopefully, I'll still be playing in my living room, though.
I hope so.
I could handle that.
Right.
But yeah, they're pretty amazing. And but James Taylor, he's playing, and Carly Simon, and they're all out there. Did you have any affinity for some of the rock music, like the Beatles and things like that?
I did. I was interested in all kinds of rock music and folk music and pop music throughout the 70s and on. Yeah. It was really when I moved to Massachusetts in 1988. That's when I really started to find my home in the folk music community, though. And originally, I had an affinity for the contemporary singer-songwriter stuff, which to people who aren't in the folk music community, I would describe it by saying, the James Taylors and Carly Simons of today, and by which I mean Cheryl Wheeler, Doogie McClain, James Keelahan, and so forth. But through the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston, I've come to understand that there are other worlds out there, such as bluegrass music and traditional ballads, unaccompanied ballads, and so many other types of music that I've become interested in.
So let's talk about that. The Folk Music Society of Greater Boston is an organization that you're involved with. Can you tell us the origins of it and how it started and how you got involved?
Yeah, absolutely. The group is older than I am. We just had our 61st anniversary. So the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston is a 61-year-old nonprofit organization that provides opportunities for people in the Boston area to make and listen to folk music in all of its forms, whether traditional, contemporary, accompanied by instruments or a cappella, and in many different styles, including bluegrass, old-time, unaccompanied traditional ballads, and many other types of folk music. When there isn't a pandemic going on, we have a concert series through which we do about one concert a month Typically these days they're held in someone's living room, but sometimes if we think we need a bigger venue, we'll go to the First Parish of Watertown or another building and rent it out for the concert. We also put on singing parties, which typically take place in someone's home, and it can be the home of anyone, usually a folk song society member, but anyone who has room to hold, a dozen to 20 people. And certainly anybody listening who would like to try that is very welcome to try hosting a singing party. Some of those singing parties we refer to as trad swaps, or traditional song and tune swaps, which means people take turns presenting traditional or trad-like ballads, mostly unaccompanied and usually from memory. But some of the singing parties are more like rise-up singing type of gatherings where people will sit around and do stuff out of books or written music, or it could be from memory. But, everybody's singing on pretty much every song, and there'll be guitars and mandolins and whatever other acoustic instruments people bring along. And everyone is welcome to join, so I hope you'll check the group out on fssgb.org. That's the letters stand for Folk Song Society of Greater Boston.
Yeah, and I'm a member, or at least I need to pay my membership. I think I'm a little late, but yeah, but I'm a member, and I do the calendar as well, so that's always nice, and I get to see who's playing by having to do that, so that's nice too.
Yeah. I just checked my email and realized that you've been doing the calendar for almost 3 years. I didn't realize it'd been that long.
Yeah, well, it's, I get it done. Although right now we're kind of not doing it, but
we're in a lull.
I don't know when we'll start that again, because I think we have to have venues open before we can really do the venue calendar.
I think so. Yeah.
And you put up the stuff about Zoom already on the website, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the website. So the Folk Song Society website does have links to different sources of online concerts and tips for how to do live streaming. And actually, I would like to quickly give a shout out to Lynn Knoll of Digital Heritage Consulting and the Mermaid's Tavern for being at the forefront of finding ways for us to stay connected through music during these tough times of social distancing. She's hosted a couple of live streamed concerts for the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston, in addition to having her own concert series. And she's really done a ton of work to help people optimize the experience of sharing music online. And she's published some links to instructions about, what kind of equipment to buy or ways to enhance your sound when you're performing online. So I'd really like to give a big thanks to Lynn for doing all of that work for our folk music community.
Yeah, that's great. It's important right now that you become a techie if you want to do music.
So true.
It's been frustrating for some people because some people really don't do that. So they haven't had the equipment to actually even get on and participate in these things, but there's really no option. And it is a great alternative for the rest of us who can do it. And hopefully we can help those who can't get online somehow. I mean, I know a couple of people have recently ordered webcams. It took a while to come in, and now they're on.
Yep.
But, you gotta get over that hurdle. So with the Folk Song Society, I went to your house for a party a number of years ago. They're not that close to me, so that's the only thing. But I did enjoy that, and I also met, I think, April Grant through that mailing list, and some other people who do the same kind of thing, have house parties with music. And April's were always fun, and I had a good time at yours. Now, you used Rise Up Singing, and you had a box full of the books, the Rise Up Singing and Rise Again books, where we just went around and participated and did a kind of a sing-along, which I loved because of camp. I went to summer camp, and we had campfires, and we sang along, and we sang at every meal. And that's just not something people do much.
No.
But you guys do. And that's kind of cool that's still going on, because I think everybody should be doing that.
Absolutely.
I think singing is fun. And I just interviewed Annie Patterson and Peter Blood, who wrote those books, or they compiled them.
Right.
And, it's amazing what they've done to help the folk music community express itself, really. What did you guys do before then?
I don't remember a time before them. I think as long as I've been in the Folk Song Society, which is 30 years, we've had Rise Up Singing, and now, of course, the sequel, Rise Again, but I don't ever remember not having that book.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it since the mid-'90s, at least.
Yep.
And I've been using it for, it's sort of in the back of my car.
Never want to be without it.
Right, and then if a song session breaks out, I'm ready to go.
Exactly.
And it does happen occasionally, not as often as I would like, but it does happen, especially when you hang out at the hearing room.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things do you do to get people involved with that? Like, do you have connections with artists? Or, how does it work, the organization?
Yeah, I would say probably one of the main ways that we reach people is by putting on concerts and advertising those concerts in the local papers and on Facebook and other, reasonably affordable ways of getting the word out. And so the fans of that artist will hear about us, become interested, and join. Also, just we encourage our members to share our events on Facebook. I know not everyone's on Facebook, but you can certainly make a Facebook post public, or through other means, Twitter or actual human face-to-face conversation. You can actually tell people about it. And so word of mouth is very big.
Right. And that's kind of how I heard about it. I actually think I found the website first, though. So that was how I first had heard of it, because I was looking for something like that. So it's good that you're there doing that.
Yeah.
And you've been on the board for a while, sort of being a mover and a shaker.
Absolutely. When I joined the Folk Song Society in '88, I started by going to one of the Fall Getaway Weekends, which was great fun, and very quickly joined the planning committee for that annual getaway. And after a few years, I think about 20 years ago, I took over being the coordinator of that weekend. And also, as soon as I joined, I started doing the newsletter. So I'm going on almost 30 years of doing the newsletter. And somebody had the bright idea that if I'm doing the newsletter, I should probably join the board of directors. So I'll have insight into what sorts of things should be going in the newsletter. So I've been on the board for almost 30 years now.
Yeah. How often do you have meetings for that?
That's a trick question. We aim for every 6 to 8 weeks, but we can go a lot longer than that. And now we're of course exploring Zoom-based meetings since we can't get together. Yeah.
Well, less gas is used for Zoom-based
meetings. Yes, it's
meetings.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I don't think I've used my car in like 4 weeks.
It's amazing. I know.
We have one car. We have 2 cars, and so we use the one car rather than both.
Nice.
That works out fine.
Yeah.
It's the one with better gas mileage.
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing also.
Yeah, and it's an interesting time to do folk music because really folk music to me has been, like I said, being at camp, sitting around the campfire and being unplugged.
Yeah.
And now unplugged is not an option. Because you have to be online, and even if you want to be acoustic, you can't be strictly acoustic because you're using a microphone. So there's you can do the best you can to approximate it, but it's still got the electronic problems and the electronic what's the word I'm looking for? The electronic interface, I guess.
Yeah, there's no avoiding it now.
Right. You can't just sit in front of somebody at the moment, which is sad. And it's even more sad that you can't sing together because
Yeah.
that's the key. Singing together is kind of the point of folk song society, I think. At least
I agree, largely. Some of us, though, we're all exploring different ways to do that. And some of my folk song society friends and I have been getting together every Saturday for about an hour to do a sing along. And, a lot of people all around the world are struggling with the latency of sound where you can't have two or more people actually making music on Zoom or a similar technology at the same time, even with this, that, and the other setting that's supposed to optimize it. So what we've been doing, and I know a lot of people do this, is we take turns leading songs, and whoever's leading the song will be the only person unmuted, and everyone else will sing along, muted, so they hear the presenter and themselves. And sometimes we even trade off verses, and you got to be pretty sharp about when to mute and unmute at the right moment. But it's actually working out and has been fun. It's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah, and I think, people are creative in the ways we've been trying to do it. The other thing I've been doing is the thing where you actually record something and put it up, and then people add to it.
Yes, nice.
And that way, you don't get the latency, because the person gets the file, sings with it with headphones on or whatever, and they record one of the tracks, and then you mix it. So I'm actually doing that with a group of kids at the synagogue in Lexington. What we're doing is we do 3 songs we do songs at the end of the year. So instead, we're having each kid record with a recording I sent them, and then that'll be put together, and that'll be our Zimria, our sing-along end-of-the-year thing, which is kind of cool. What are some other things you've seen going on that have worked?
Well, actually, I don't know if you're familiar with the New England Folk Festival that happens every year in April.
Yep.
Yep, NEFA. And so NEFA was canceled this year for obvious reasons because of the pandemic. And the performing artists who were going to participate in the festival were invited to contribute videos of up to 10 minutes to represent. So on the weekend that would have been the festival, they made available all of these videos of the various artists who were going to perform. And so I got to pull together the video for the Folk Song Society's song swap that was going to happen at the festival. So I got to do one of those sort of Brady Bunch style videos. And there were about 5 of us who all did our parts, and then in the end, bring them up. We would have one person record a foundation track, perhaps the guitar, and then the singer would sing along with the guitar, and then we just build up from there, and it came together pretty nicely, I thought.
Oh, I'd like to hear that. Is that online now?
It is online, yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a link.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, the different festivals being canceled, that's also a big issue. Lots of people are disappointed they can't go to their usual hangouts.
Absolutely.
Usual festival. And summer, it's going to be really hard because people are used to doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I mentioned, how summer camps were big with music for me. They're all closed. I mean, the majority of them I've heard of are not even running this summer because of the pandemic.
Yep, exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense because you live very close quarters in most summer camps. So yeah, that wouldn't be too safe. But what do you think people are going to do this summer? What are you planning on?
Oh my goodness, this was going to be the first year in a very long time that my husband and I were going to go to Old Songs out in New York at the end of June, and I had been so looking forward to it, but of course that was canceled. And as you say, I'm sure most of them will be canceled throughout the summer, but people are already looking ahead to the fall. Like we've got the Folk Song Society's annual Fall Getaway Weekend, which is kind of a small group. We usually have about 40 campers, and it's just a really lovely weekend in a rustic setting. And the board right now is discussing, do we go ahead and cancel now, or do we hang on a couple of months and see where things go? And, it's a big question mark. I don't really know. I feel certain, as you said, that the summer stuff probably is all going to be canceled. But the fall, we're just hanging on a bit.
Well, I hope that something happens between now and then to open it up. But I'm not not seeing a pathway yet.
No, not yet.
And
not till we have a vaccine and herd immunity and so forth.
Yeah, well, I love how they're referring to us as a herd, but you
Yes.
know, I don't really like being referred to as a herd. But yeah, I get the point. The so what do you do besides music?
Oh, these days, I almost wouldn't say besides music. I would say all I do is work, 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 work. I'm in software, and I'm working on a very, very big project for the federal government, and it's so all-consuming for the past couple of months that I haven't had a whole lot of time for music, so I appreciate you putting this little drop of folk music time in my week.
Yeah, so so at least the technical aspect of getting online and doing music, you're comfortable with that. So that's
very.
good.
Yes.
Yeah. And what kind of music do you do when you sit around and play, or go to one of the song swaps, or play online? What is some of your repertoire that you like?
I still do a lot of, well, actually, this is a good time to mention our recently departed mutual friend, Sandy Haddon, who I miss so very much. And, we lost her a couple of months ago. She was certainly one of the best singer-songwriters in the Boston area, I thought, and we lost her to cancer. And she and our friend Catherine Kaufman and I had been performing together as sisters in song for a few years. And sometimes Nick Noble would join us, and then we call ourselves SisterWolf. And she is such a masterful songwriter and such a strong guitar player that, I feel bereft now that she's gone. I have to find things to do and people to sing with. But, we were doing a lot of sort of 70s popular music and a lot of bluesy stuff, a lot of Bonnie Raitt and Linda Ronstadt, Carly Simon sorts of things. She had an uncanny knack for being able to find songs that were just perfect for us, and in particular, really good for me to sing.
Yeah, that's actually really sad that she's gone. I interviewed her on the podcast too, and she talked about her cancer a little bit, and she knew the end was coming, but I was hopeful that she could beat it, but no. But yeah, I competed against her in the Portsmouth Maritime Folk Festival song competition once, and
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, she had a nice song about a rum runner.
Yep.
So, now, so you're not doing that anymore. Are you singing with other groups?
Well, we still have the Simones, my quartet. It's been together about 25 years, where I do the vocals, and my friend Chris Felkner plays guitar, and his wife, my friend Jean Wildman, is on fiddle or viola, and Catherine Kaufman, who I mentioned a moment ago, will play harmonica or sometimes banjo. And we have been on kind of extended maternity leave for maybe the last 18 years, but we do about 1 gig a year. That's a lot of fun.
That's a nice maternity leave. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. But when you perform, do you do stuff like with harmonies and stuff like that? What's the arrangements usually?
Oh, absolutely. We all love harmony. So the arrangements tend to be Chris on guitar, although we recently performed a song with him on banjo, so he's just getting into playing the banjo. And either I will do the lead and Jean will harmonize, or Jean will take the lead and I'll harmonize. We definitely get a lot of harmony in there. Okay.
And can you do a song now, or are you up for doing one?
I'd love to. In fact, I kind of like to do one that is, I think of it as a tribute to Sandy Haddon, even though I never did this song with her. But as I mentioned, she was so great at finding songs for me to sing, and I'm terrible at finding songs for me to sing. But this one I just stumbled upon maybe a week or two ago, and I thought this is a song she would have found for us if she'd stuck around. So I'm just thinking of it as kind of a tribute to her in that indirect way.
Okay.
One thing, though, I'm just stumbling through the guitar part so badly that I'm going to pull a Milli Vanilli on you, and pre-recorded the guitar. So I'm going to just sing along with the recording where I edited out the most egregious of the errors, and I won't charge you extra for the ones that I left in. Those are free mistakes, no problem at all.
Okay.
All right, so this is a Bonnie Raitt song, Love Has No Pride. Actually, pardon me, I'm going to start that again. Can you hear the guitar okay?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. I've had bad dreams too many times to think that they don't mean much anymore. Fine times have gone and left my sad home. Friends who once cared just walk out my door. Love has no pride when I call out your name. Love has no pride when there's no one left to blame. I'd give anything to see you again. I've been alone too many nights to think that you could come back again. And I've heard you talk, she's crazy to stay. But this love hurts me so, I don't care what you say. Love has no pride when I call out your name. Love has no pride when there's no one left to blame. And I'd give anything to see you again. Uh-oh, hold on one second. Technical difficulty. If I could buy your love, I'd truly try, my friend. And if I could pray, my prayer would never end. But if you want me to beg, I'd fall down on my knees, asking you to come back. I'd be pleading for you to come back, begging for you to come back to me. Love has no pride when I call out your name. Love has no pride when there's no one but myself to blame. And I'd give anything to see you again. Yes, I'd give anything to see you again. All right, accompanied by my iPad.
Yeah. I got the audience in the background there for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so that was nice. That's a Bonnie Raitt?
Yes, it is, yep.
Yeah, I don't think I remember that one. That's a good one. So which album was that on? Do you remember?
Hold on a second. I actually have the YouTube right in front of me. Let me just mute it. I've got one of these YouTubes that I was listening to that shows you in the background a picture of her. Skip the ad. Oh, it's an album called Give It Up.
Okay. Well, something to check out.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like she was very young in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, she's an amazing singer, songwriter, blues person. She's really good.
Yeah, I love her.
So you do Bonnie Raitt. You know what I heard you do that I really liked was "Killing Me Softly."
I love that one.
Yeah, I think your voice is really right for that.
Oh,
That sounded really good when you do, and I heard you do it with Sandy and with Catherine.
yep.
So you could do that later if you want, or now, or whatever you feel like.
I'd have to do it a cappella because I don't accompany myself on that one.
Okay, well, maybe something else then.
Yeah, all right.
That's fine, unless you want to do it a cappella. It's a little awkward a cappella, I think, because there's some pauses.
Yeah.
So, what have you got going on in terms of the Folk Song Society right now? What's coming up? Like, are there some concerts or get-togethers that are coming up pretty soon? Because this will air on Monday. So if you want to...
Great. Oh, yeah. I wish we had something coming up. We had a couple of concerts recently that were live streamed, but we didn't have anything else scheduled. I think we're kind of in a waiting pattern right now to see where things are going. The only thing I can think of in front of us right now is that Fall Getaway Weekend in September, which again, might be canceled or might not.
What? Tell me about the Fall Getaway in best case scenario. What
right,
goes on? Yeah, what goes on there?
Oh, it's a sweet little weekend, and a lot of people like it because it is more affordable and less scheduled, less booked up than a lot of the other weekends and weeks that are folk music camps. In its heyday, a bunch of years ago, 30 years ago, there would be 80 people there. But the crowd's gotten older, and we don't always attract a lot of new people. It's kind of a low-profile event, so the number of campers tends to be closer to 40, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a really nice size. It's enough time to be able to get together with people for meals, and we talk over meals, and we have informal jams. We have a fairly loosely scheduled program. So just about every hour through the day, there will be a workshop scheduled that's either led by one of our staff people, and we typically have about 3 staff people. In fact, this year, if it happens, our staff people will be Bob and Jean Zentz and Tom Smith, all of whom are warm, wonderful performers, and those are the best kind of people to have at our little weekend because they will not only do concerts and workshops, but also just hang out with us and share their pearls of wisdom and their wonderful warmth. So we do invite the campers to lead workshops if there's anything they want to do, like someone would lead perhaps a ukulele workshop or anything they are interested in. We also have a staff concert and have a campers concert, which is basically like an open mic, and everybody is welcome to sign up and do one song or spoken word piece.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
And you do that, where is it located usually?
Over the years, it's moved around a bit, but we've settled at Prindle Pond Camp and Conference Center out in Charlton, Massachusetts. So that's about an hour and a half west, pretty much a straight shot out on the Pike, so it's real easy to get to. And it's in a lovely rustic setting, and yet is close enough to anything you need if you have to duck out and get some groceries or a bottle of wine or what have you.
Bottle of wine. That's
yes, very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's to sort of warm up the vocal cords. That's
yes, it's medicinal. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. So, did you ever try writing songs?
Once. I don't think of myself as a songwriter, and I signed up to take a songwriting workshop with Bob Franke, who's certainly one of the most revered songwriters in the Boston area. And his style, I don't know if you've ever done a workshop with him, but his style is to go around, sort of get to know the people in the workshop and give them an assignment. It'll be a 2-day workshop. So the first day he's getting to know you, then he gives you a homework assignment to do something for the next day, and he will pounce on something that is your weakness and make you focus on your weakness. So he found out about me that I'm a melody person, but I am not a word person. So he asked me to take a favorite melody and write a humorous song to that melody. So that was quite a challenge, and I don't remember the whole song, but I remember one verse, and I was very proud of it.
And I know you're a big Weird Al Yankovic fan because
Oh, yes.
yeah, I am as well. I like his stuff.
Oh,
and
lovely.
So that sounds like it's right in your wheelhouse, just like
Right
Weird
in
Al.
my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't think anybody could do it as well as he does, though. That's
No, he's brilliant.
the way he does it. Parodies is just unreal, and the fact that he plays the background, he gets musicians to play it identically.
Yes.
Except with the addition of an accordion sometimes.
Right.
But he's great.
He's brilliant.
So when you wrote, you don't think, so you said you tried once. So do you have the song? Do you want to sing it? Or is it not something you usually do?
I could probably dredge up that one verse. I decided to write a song about a skunk in the workplace. And the melody I took from a song I was hearing a lot back then. That must have been 20 years ago. And I don't know if y'all know the song Rosin Up Your Bow. It goes something like, the melody is da 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 da. You'd better rosin up your bow before it's time to go. So the final verse of my song, my humorous song about the skunk in the workplace, was, the office manager bellowed loud, under no circumstances are pets allowed. But I told my boss with a graceful bow, you're not the only skunk in the office now. And at that time, I had a manager that, I really wanted to dedicate that song to. So
that's pretty funny. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of shows like The Office, so where you have a boss or the Dilbert cartoons or,
Yep.
Things like
That's
that.
my world right there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the world's a funny place. That's sort of what that says to me.
I'd rather laugh than cry.
Yeah. I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints, right?
Indeed.
The sinners are much more fun. So I wonder if Billy Joel wrote that or if that's just a phrase. I think I've heard it as a phrase, but I can't separate it. I don't know if he actually came up with it or if it existed like that phrase.
I always assumed he did. I'd never heard anyone else say it.
Well, I mean, the sentiment certainly is out there. The question is, did he write that exact phrase or did he borrow it?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. But certainly a good phrase.
Yes.
So I'm going to take a short break here, and then we'll come back and talk some more. But I just wanted to mention that the Hearing Room is looking for members. I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. Membership is important because we need to keep the lights on and we need to keep the rent paid, and we need to make sure that we have equipment that you can use when you come and participate in our events like the open mics, the jams, the shows, the spoken word evenings, all that stuff. And, we have all kinds of activities. The best way you can find out about it is to go to hearingroom.net. Hearingroom.net is our website, and we're even going to refurbish it a little bit coming up here. So it should be easy to find all the information you need about the Hearing Room. From becoming a member, it's $100 a year, and you get a T-shirt, you get a membership card that's made out of recycled materials. So it is environmentally friendly membership card. And we also have discounts on events. Plus, you get access to events that otherwise people don't get first crack at. So, like if we have a big show and it's going to sell out, and we're a small place, we have about 50 to 60 seats, depending on the layout. And if we sell out, then you will still you'll get first crack at those tickets and be able to get one of the seats. So it's a good idea to become a member. So if you want to do that, go to the website, hearingroom.net, and you should be able to check that out. And also you can check out all our events. Our events are things like the open mics and jams, but also, as I said, we have special concerts like Don White. We've had other people come in. Charlie Farron was there. different people who are locally pretty big. And so you can check that out. Danielle Moralia came one time too, and she's excellent. And check out our website for more info, hearingroom.net. Also, we want to thank the Greenville Junction Shop, Greenville, Junktion Shoppe. The Greenville Junction Shoppe is an upcycling shop with all kinds of things, household appliances, furniture, electronics, all that stuff. It's a great place to go to get your upcycled items. So that's about it for the Hearing Room and the Greenville Junction Shoppe. So, Lori, tell us, what's another song you do?
Oh, one song I've been doing for many years, and I always do this one a cappella, is Love Will Guide Us, which is, a hymn. It's a traditional hymn with lyrics by Sally Rogers, and it's a great one to sing for sing-alongs. So if you mind, I'd love to do that one and invite people to sing along from where you are.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. And here's the chorus. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give to the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. Hear the song of peace within you. Heed the song of peace in your heart. Spring's new beginning shall lead to the harvest. Love will guide us on our way. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night.
Well, that's great.
So much.
It reminds me, I wanted to ask you about the traditional music. So traditional, I know from knowing April Grant a little bit from the Folk Song Society. She does pretty much strictly a cappella. Although I know she's learning guitar a little bit now, but she's doing a cappella stuff almost exclusively, and I found that refreshing because I never did a cappella stuff ever since I started taking guitar. I was always using the guitar, and then I started realizing you don't really have to. So what is that tradition like right now when you see that community? What kinds of songs do they do that you like?
Oh, so many. And there's so much variation in the way they're presented. And one of the things that's really neat about traditional ballads and other types of traditional songs is that people will collect different versions of them, go around the world or around the country and hear the different ways that people do the same song, or people will set new words to an old song. So there is this tradition of just comparing, the same song that you might hear here in America versus the version that they tend to do over across the pond in the UK. And there's a lot of variation in some people are diehards about doing it a cappella and really believe that's the way to present a traditional ballad. Whereas there are other folks like Brian Peters is an amazing musician who plays all sorts of instruments, really stellar guitarist and concertina and many other instruments. And he presents his songs with lovely accompaniment. So those are all valid ways of presenting these songs.
Yeah. And do you like the old stuff typically, or do you like the newer stuff that's a cappella that people are writing? What do you usually perform?
I confess I do tend to gravitate toward the newer forms of expression. So, and I do like things that are accompanied and people harmonizing and all that sort of, more rich, almost more polished presentation. I do know folks through the Folk Song Society who actually find that sort of presentation kind of offensive. It's not pure, that the pure way to do it would be sort of with a rough, unpolished voice and not having a lot of arrangement and, just a lot of polish. But I do tend to gravitate toward the more polished approach.
Yeah, and so the stuff you do, though, primarily does have a backing, typically. I know
yes.
You play some stuff, though. You play mandolin, right?
My house is full of instruments that I don't play well. I've been focused on trying to learn the fiddle over the last few years, and I'm finally realizing that the way to get better is to go play with other people. And, so I've signed up for some workshops like... There's a wonderful weekend-long workshop called Fiddle Hell that happens every year in November up in Westford, and I've gone a bunch of years in a row. And there's a bluegrass group that meets weekly in Acton, and it's an amazing, very beginner-friendly group. Hold on, I'm going to clear my throat for 1 second. So groups like that, where you can go make your scratching noises in the background without anyone being offended, and you can eventually learn and get better. Those seem to me to be like the way to learn. But so I've been working on the fiddle, and I've taken a bunch of dulcimer lessons from my friend Gail Finney, who some may recall as Gail Rundlet, her former married name. And I've got multiple guitars, and I'm now teaching my teenage son how to play guitar, which is so exciting for me that he's really into it and really picking it up fast. I've got 3 mandolins and 3 ukuleles and a banjo. And I really am terrible on all of them, but, my heart's in the right place. And someday when I don't have to work so much, I hope to be able to spend more time getting more proficient and being able to play with people and accompany myself.
Yeah, but the stuff you did on mandolin that I've heard was perfectly passable. I mean, it sounded great. I mean, it was not, I didn't think, she doesn't know how to play. So I think you're doing fine.
That's a trick I've learned. On every instrument, I will take 1 or 2 songs that come pretty easily and play them over and over and over until I can play them in front of someone who doesn't know me, and they'll think I know what I'm doing. It's quite a trick. Right.
Well, that's all it takes. That's how actors do it, right?
Yep, exactly.
Just enough.
Just enough.
So what kinds of gigs do you usually do besides the Folk Song Society? You said you gigged with what was the group called? The
Simones?
The Simones. So you gig where? Like, what do you play?
These days, we mostly just do the Folk Song Society's annual members concert, which, like the campers concert at the Fall Getaway Weekend that I mentioned before, it's just basically a giant open mic night and everybody does one song. Back in our heyday, if we had a heyday, we were invited to do some open mic features, and we did have one There was a coffee house in Sudbury that is no more. It was a really lovely coffee house called Coffee House on the Rocky Plain, and they had given us our own 45-minute featured set at one point, and that was great fun. In fact, Sandy hadn't joined us for that one. And for 8.5 years, from the time my son was in kindergarten up until 8th grade or so, I was in a classic rock band led by his principal and music teacher. So that was great fun. And that was, kind of branching off of the folk music world into the classic rock world. And I got to do a lot of Linda Ronstadt, Bonnie Raitt sorts of things. Proud Mary, songs like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all good stuff. So I like to do that stuff. I'm not, the problem I have is I can't sing some of that. It's a little much for my vocals. But you have some pretty extensive pipes there. So I'm sure that, the Bonnie Raitt, and that's right in your wheelhouse, Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what else can you sing for us today?
What else can I sing? I have one. I've got a little stack of songs in front of me, and this one goes back to when before my son was born. I had put together a song list or a song book of songs that I thought were just essential songs that he would need to know, that every human should know. And so from the moment he popped out, I was singing to him, You Are My Sunshine and other just really, really classic songs like that. So one of them was 500 Miles. Let's see if I can pull this one off for you. It's a simple song, but hold on just 1 second. Allergy season. I have to keep muting to clear my throat.
Okay.
If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two, Lord, I'm three, Lord, I'm four, Lord, I'm 500 miles from my home. 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles. Lord, I'm 500 miles from my home. Not a shirt on my back, not a penny to my name. Lord, I can't go back home this away, this away, this away, this away, this away. Lord, I can't go back home this away. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles.
That's great. I like that one. Let's have a little applause here.
Wrong.
Big crowd for you.
Big crowd. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We don't see those anymore.
No.
Not during the pandemic anyway. And that's a great song. Who do you remember who wrote that, or is it just traditional?
I think it's traditional, and it's certainly associated with Peter, Paul, and Mary an awful lot, but I don't know who wrote it, so I assume it's traditional.
Yeah, I like that one. It's a great camp song.
Definitely.
You got some more of those?
Let's see. I'm looking through my songs, and it confess, not being a strong guitarist, I'm... Ooh, okay, I got one for you. So
Okay.
this one, my claim to fame is I actually performed this one at Club Passim to a sold-out audience, and they weren't there just to see me, but still I get to say I played it at Passim to a sold-out audience. Not everybody can say that.
That's true.
All right, give me 1 second to get set up.
Okay. And we're talking today to Lori Fassman, who is at the point where she's singing us some cool stuff right now. So what's this one?
This song is called Two Brothers. It was written by Irving Gordon in 1951, I think, and it's a song about two brothers fighting on opposite sides of the Civil War. And I actually learned this from the singing of Lynn Sainer, who's a beautiful, beautiful singer and songwriter who lives out in Northampton. I don't know if she's doing music these days, but this is that's how I learned this song.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pull this off. Two brothers on their way, two brothers on their way, two brothers on their way, one wore blue and one wore gray, one wore blue and one wore gray. As they marched along their way, a fife and drum began to play, all on a beautiful morning. One was gentle, one was kind, one was gentle and one was kind. One came home and one stayed behind. The cannonball, it don't pay no mind. The cannonball, it don't pay no mind. Though you're gentle, though you are kind, it don't think of us here left behind. On a beautiful morning, two girls sitting by the railroad track, two girls sitting by the railroad track, waiting for their pardon me 1 second. I got my words. Two girls sitting by the railroad track, two girls sitting by the railroad track, two girls sitting by the railroad track, one wore blue and one wore black, one wore blue and one wore black, sitting by the railroad track, waiting for their darlings to come back, all on a beautiful morning, all on a beautiful morning.
Nice.
I really love that one.
And there's your crowd. Sorry, what I missed. What was the author of that one?
Irving Gordon, 1951.
Yeah. Okay. And that sounds like a kind of an Irish ballad almost. Is that from there, or like, do you think it was sort of influenced by that?
Yeah, I don't have any insight. I really don't know anything about Irving Gordon, and I'd never heard of him outside of the context of this song.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It does remind me of like those, tragic Irish songs that are
Yeah.
but it's good. It sounds good. And Civil War, I know there were a lot of immigrants coming from Ireland before then, and probably
true.
in the blue and the gray.
Right.
The songs that you've done just now were more, I guess, traditional folk songs. What you mentioned, you had more contemporary stuff you like as well. What's one of your favorite contemporary ones you do that maybe is still a folk song, but not sort of like not classic rock or something like that, but sort of a pure folk song that's more contemporary?
Yeah, well, something like Angel from Montgomery. Certainly, it would be a tribute to John Prine, who just passed away from complications from COVID-19.
Right.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that is. Do you play that one?
I do. If you and our studio audience are feeling very tolerant, I don't play it well, but I'm willing to make people suffer. I don't mind.
Oh, that's fine.
As I say, I don't charge extra for the mistakes.
Yeah. It's been great so far. I've enjoyed listening to you, so I think we can all tolerate it.
All right. So this is definitely one I do a lot at Folk Song Society singing parties. Hold on. One more throat clearing. All right. I'm back. Actually, I associate this one with Bonnie Raitt also because I first heard her sing it. I am an old woman named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. His dreams were thunder, lightning was desire. This old house would have burnt down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. I can believe in this living is just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, well, I had me a cowboy. He wasn't much to look at, just a free rambling man. But that was a long time, and no matter how I tried, the years just flow by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. Well, there's flies in the kitchen, and I can hear them, they're buzzing, but I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, and have nothing to
say, make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
All right, that's a great one. Yeah. So the artists in New England, I guess they have a certain quality to the songwriting that's a little bit different. And I think John Prine was really good with that, although he doesn't come from New England, but it seems like the ones who hang out around here, we get the best of the bunch in a lot of cases.
Sure do. Yeah.
I think we're, the fact that we have the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston and we have Raitt and we have all these great venues, I think that is part of the charm of being in New England and being able to do folk music over other stuff.
Yeah, we're so lucky, absolutely.
Because I grew up in Kansas City and it wasn't quite like that. So it was more, I think we either had heavy metal or country for the most part.
Wow.
But, then there's summer camp that gives you the folk music.
Of course, yes.
What do you think you would tell people, like other artists who want to participate in the folk music community? How do you get involved with this?
I would certainly track down the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston. I don't get a commission for anybody who joins. I just genuinely think it's a really neat way to meet like-minded people. Not that we all have the same mind, but, it's a big enough group that you're bound to find somebody that you gravitate to, that you've got, the same style of interest, or maybe you just want to jam together, or maybe you want to perform with someone. It's a great opportunity to meet people like that. So there's certainly that. That'd be kind of your first go-to.
Yeah. And then have you played many of the venues that are around here, or been to them with Folk Song Society stuff, like Club Passim, and I know you've been to the Hearing Room. And
oh, yes, love it.
So do you get out to the other locations very much, or you hang around Acton and Lexington, that area?
In recent years, I've mostly been staying to this area, but I love going out to Club Passim and to Amazing Things and Natick Center for the Arts and all sorts of venues. And the times that I've been to the Hearing Room, I've been just blown away. The decor and the warmth, and you and Mark and Kaylin doing such a nice job of running it. So I certainly recommend that to anybody who wants to get out for some music. Yeah,
it's really, like I said, it's really cool to be in this area and be able to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for the Folk Song Society once it opens up again? Have you guys been talking about new events, or how events will change in light of the social distancing protocols?
We're about to have a board meeting and about to have a program committee meeting. First ones we've had in a bit of a while, and probably the first ones we've had since the pandemic hit. So we haven't had those conversations yet, and I'm real curious to see where we'll go. One thing I'm noticing is that when a performer does a concert in a house concert setting, or even in a club, there is a cap on how much revenue they're going to take home. But if you do a live stream concert and it's promoted by an organization that has a pretty wide reach, They open up a tip jar, usually through PayPal or Venmo or whatever, and suddenly you've got people watching around the world and certainly all over the country. And some people just feel super generous. Some people will give $5 for a tip, and some will give 100. And so performers are tending to make out really well often in these situations. So I'm hoping that even when we're all allowed to gather in one place, perhaps we could still offer live streaming. So some people can be in that room, and we can still open it out to a broader audience. It's a neat thing we're learning about.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll be able to make those adjustments when it actually happens. But
right.
I know the hearing room is doing the same kind of thing. We're thinking of ways to get people back in because it's going to be different.
The world's changed forever.
Yeah, but they got through the pandemic in 1918, and we'll come through it. We just may change some of our practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
And music will still be there because it's
always. Yes, it'll never go away.
Yeah, it's a way we express ourselves.
It is.
So it's been great having you on the show. And is there anything else you want to add or promote about what you're doing, what's coming up?
I would not say so. I don't have anything to promote. I have perhaps one word to get out to people, something I'm trying to teach myself, and I'd love other people to think about this. I'd like to see more people who are new at singing or playing instruments to learn to trust their instincts. I was thinking about how when you add instrumentation to a song or try to come up with a harmony, you are decorating that song in the same way as if you were picking curtains for a room in your house. And there's no right or wrong fabric or style. You go with what you think is going to look good. Or in the case of music, what do you think is going to sound good? So love to encourage people to experiment and trust your instincts. Yeah,
that's good advice. So I think that's it for this episode. And Lori, thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
It was great. And you can check out Folk Song Society of Greater Boston at fssgb.org, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Okay. So fssgb.org, as in Folk Song Society Greater Boston.org. And so we, I guess there'll be another episode up on Thursday, and you can listen in then. And everybody have a great week.
Same to you.
If you start with a dream and share it with some friends, the idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance, and community soon arose. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express your